front
If
page,
there's 2 participants, still.
and you go to news, join a meeting, and then you just click on it, just one click in. Yeah. So.
Is he trying to eliminate you from
and so
actually
you-
being
you
in
can
person?
obvious you in.
Showing them how to do it.
Okay.
You don't actually have to be here.
All right,
And things like the
so,
Okay. Should we wait for Chris? Give her another minute?
unless she's on the phone right now,
Chris, are you online?
can you hear us?
Is this automatically recording? Can you know? It is
Yeah, I think
recording.
there's a way to do it and keep it very, very.
I don't think that's, oh, I think that's us, actually.
That's what?
That phone?
No, if you, no, 'cause as soon as you dial in, it knows it's you.
It made me enter a
Well, see,
password.
that's the thing.
If you entered a passcode, then you did it wrong. You
Okay.
didn't do the right ID. So then you hang up and start over
That's
again.
why I am not sitting over there.
See, this is why I want to practice. I need to do this way earlier in the day. Don't know why.
Glorious.
Didn't catch.
No, and yeah, if it asks for a
Maybe the kids
passcode,
start school.
then you've got the issue.
Monday.
Crap, seriously.
Yeah. We're doing laundry.
Oh, no, wait, what am I thinking? We start school next week too, don't we?
Bonkers. All right, so Public Works meeting,
I've got one that's graduating.
I'll pull up the agenda.
And,
Public Works meeting, there was like 4 items.
Doesn't sound too bad. And then Mike's not gonna
Mike
be
sent
here
the-
either.
yeah.
He's not here. And I printed out his Public Works update.
Yep, so
Super great.
let's just go through that, and
Okay.
then we'll do some Parks and Sustainability Board updates, and then,
All right. And I know Chris was still working on minutes, so we can just keep postponing that.
I think I got her July 9th.
Did you get the July 9th?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is she sending us text messages? Is that her?
I don't know.
Nope. Those are completely other people. who
Oh.
are just telling
Yeah,
me
I
that I'm,
believe I got
like,
her,
in here. I saw that she said something, and I thought they were still in
yeah,
progress.
I got meeting minutes from July 9th.
Okay.
So I
Um,
went through those,
Okay.
everything looked good to me. There was only one little typo that I saw, and bear with me while I find that typo, but
Hang on, I'm pulling them up. I don't even see them.
there's like a missing word.
No, I don't even see her meeting minutes. She sent them. Oh, hey, that's because I'm in the wrong account. That would be.
Oh, yeah. So, bullet point under Northwest Energy grants, it just says, would cover 3 to 4 parking spots and provide, and then it was a period. Like, so it's just missing the rest of that sentence.
Oh.
But other than that, everything looked good to me.
Okay.
And then,
Oh,
yeah,
there
so
they are.
I will make a motion to approve those as I'm not gonna
As
amend them.
written.
Yeah, as written, with a typo.
And I will.
I approve the typo.
Approve. I approve.
Okay. You want to second that?
I second. Oh, I thought you heard me.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, I didn't.
I second.
Sorry. Okay.
I second.
We're so far away from each other right now.
What?
All right, so Public Works update, August 13th. Stormwater project, 95 contract days into project.
Ooh.
28, or
Yeah,
2,803 of stormwater main line, so I'm assuming that's feet. 9 manholes and 19 inlets installed, 65 contract days remaining. That's awesome.
and it's up on the thing too for anybody who wants to.
Oh, yeah, anyone in the
Who can see?
Schedule moving forward from today, Wilson Brothers will be working from 11th Street, from Broadway westerly to Word
Word.
Avenue, which I've been noticing that.
Mm-hmm.
Once completed to Word Avenue, they will move back to Oaks and 11th and proceed along south along Oaks
To the
to
end.
the intersection of 13th Street. Once completed at 13th Street, they will move to Platt Avenue, and 8th Street and proceed west to Oaks. Then go south to 9th Street and proceed, or 9th Street and proceed west on 9th to Villard. Awesome.
Yeah.
Once completed Villard, they will move back to Oaks and 9th, proceed down to 10th. So it looks like we're gonna be doing our west to east.
I
So
know,
that's,
I'm literally picturing a grid right now.
yep. Lastly, they'll pick up 11th Street just west of Platt, cross Broadway to tie into where they're currently working. Working with Great West to design two stormwater improvements, a strategy to bring the stormwater currently entering sanitary sewer along Broadway into a new stormwater on Platt, extend and enlarge the stormwater main line that is served as a deposit for the Sunset Mine Drain. So I'm very curious to hear more about that from Mike, but,
So I can answer that. So basically, again, the whole purpose of the stormwater is to keep stuff that isn't sewer out of the sewer from being
Yep.
treated.
Correct.
So there was an old pipe that collapsed that was there.
Yes.
I believe it was probably going into sewer. And we know, and so what they're doing is we are getting our stormwater in the vicinity and then they're getting it to our stormwater so that water is going to go out into our stormwater rather than our sewer. Because
Into our sewer.
we already know what those numbers are now, 100 gallons a minute. Let's not put that in the sewer.
I did the math, it's over 3 million gallons in less than a month.
That was taken out of the sewer, quite a while ago.
Was
Yeah,
it?
So it may have been going into stormwater, but it's collapsed, so. And it was going to the sewer temporarily while they were working on it, and they were having to monitor sewer daily
Oh,
to
yeah.
make sure that it didn't cause issues, so.
Ouch. Okay.
Yeah, that's exciting. So that's good to hear. Wastewater,
I got a question
Yep.
on stormwater, because there's activity all around the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have an approximate date that they're gonna hit behind the grocery store?
that's 8th and,
I don't, but we could probably find out. They've been letting people know in advance, but we could make a note to,
We've gotta make sure that Sean is advised. so-
does he need more than a day or two, or
He's gonna have to be working with how to get
Vendors.
trucks unloaded.
Oh, right, right.
if we put a week, is that gonna be good?
Should be.
Noticed.
and just to be sure, this is just going on the east-west roads, so 9th, 10th, 11th, they're not gonna be tearing into Villard or.
They're not doing that.
It's like the one across.
Yeah, not
We had-
avenues.
We had
and
one
streets.
when they did 11th down in front of, when they did one down in front of, Junction 7.
Oh,
The
yeah.
first day, they, actually hadn't gone down and talked to them, and they just kind of shut it down. So they did let it, that was the Monday shutdown that they notified and signed it off. But the first day, they just kind of meandered over there and forgot to go talk to people.
Awesome.
So the phone rang.
You
Yeah,
don't
I'm
need to
sure
know.
it did.
You're gonna need to know.
Okay. So yeah, that'll be good.
It wasn't me who needed to know, it was them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if they could coordinate with Sean, because there's certain days
Deliveries
when
and,
things could be tore up extensively and not cause
Yeah.
a lot of problems, and there's other days where it would be,
Okay, so some days are better than others.
yeah, so we need to coordinate with Sean.
Wastewater, we're waiting arrival of the new backup pump for Highway 212 lift station. We made some headway with the health deep screen at Headworks and wastewater treatment facility, though improvement is needed. Water, we are still developing funding strategies for the 16th bypass, or the 16-inch bypass and the 2023 water rehabilitation. We are working on the service line inventory that is due in October of '24.
Mhm.
We have several curb stop and service line replacements and a couple of water leaks and repairs, okay? Streets, we have been chipping away at pothole patching. We have graded some alleys and roads. I think I noticed that Chris's alley was much nicer the
Yeah.
other day.
Very much.
FEMA paving project and paving of street cuts on Platte for stormwater will commence next week. All right, theoretically. I like the theoretically on
I know.
that. So that's great. The EDA grant application, we have received no formal notification of grant award, but are hopeful in budgeting money for our match, we should receive this grant. Project to mitigate sidewalk.
Should we receive, but what you said is not bad. When they call and ask you if you've received your notification yet, we're translating that as a good sign, but we haven't received it yet.
That's fair.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's
And by the way, just while we're in this section, the budget, we'll spend a lot of time talking tonight. There's several projects. So that bypass and water rehab are some of the projects that are, you'll see in the budget. The streets are in the budget. So there's, like I said, a lot of these things as we go through here, you're gonna see are in the budget, and including that EDA grant application, we have money in the budget for
the match.
our match
EDA
that's
match.
required.
Okay. And then,
And it's not coming out of reserve tax.
all right, and then,
Okay.
so street is awaiting the budget approval. Is that coming out of resort tax?
The street is not coming out of reserve tax.
Okay,
That's
no
not-
streets. Okay, got it.
It is
So-
in our budget, but it's not coming out of budget.
Howdy.
Hello.
The project to mitigate sidewalk trip hazards along Broadway from 8th to 14th is awaiting approval. If we move forward, the project would incorporate a
Yeah,
contractor
we started
to
without
lift
you.
a portion of the sunken
You're good.
sidewalk panels and purchase of a concrete grinder and
You're
vacuum
fine.
so the public works crew can grind the protruding
Quit.
edges. That's cool.
Yeah, so we had looked at two different things. One guy that was gonna do it all, which was nice, because if there was somebody to scream at, there was only one person. But once you've had to ask them 4 or 5 times, and you choose that vendor, and then you have problems, you're not allowed to look surprised that things don't go according to schedule, so.
Yeah.
And basically what we're just waiting for is when we approve the budget in 2 weeks, we'll pull the trigger.
Cool.
I don't anticipate issues, but like I said, don't spend the money until we know we have it.
Pool. Had a complete failure of the boiler at the pool. It's currently open, but with chilly water, it is expected to have shut down prior to the scheduled shutdown date of August. The boiler is partially covered under warranty. I was gonna say, it's gotta be new.
It is, yeah.
We will be replacing with a new upgraded boiler. The cost will be covered with the funds from the pool foundation.
So I can give you an update on that
Please
too.
do.
So the boiler guide, it technically was not under warranty, because it only had a 1-year warranty.
It was a,
There was some significant questions about whether it was installed properly and whether it was brought up and handed off properly, and kind of the remedy is, they are giving us, they are applying some of that toward some warranty dollars toward a replacement broiler. That's probably one we should have done to start with. It has a couple of features, that don't require manual going from cold to hot, to warm it up. The goal is to actually, get it in this year before the pool, so he kind of touched on it there. Whether the pool is open, AKA for kids, it has to be above 78 degrees, for anybody else, it has to be above 74.
Okay.
And they've got the solar blankets on it, they try to keep it running and working.
yeah, he knows that.
Mother Nature dictates a lot of that, they're holding off on closing down the pool.
Sure.
But the hope is we're gonna have the new boiler in before it's shut down, so it'll guarantee its functionality, and then next year they'll come out and do a full startup on it.
Cool.
And that may well be part of the process going forward. This is kind of a yearly
Okay.
tune-up and done on that. And it's gonna cost about $12,000 additional, which is what's coming out of the pool foundation dollars.
Okay.
And
And that pool
the
foundation
repair was
dollars.
gonna be $13,000, so.
So the pool foundation dollars, is that the, fund through the foundation?
It's part of it that's funding, and they are moving toward closing down that committee and zeroing out that account, because they no longer, now we have a complete, it was basically to get the pool in place
Right.
and functioning.
Yep.
Now that we have a functioning pool, it's something we
They'll
turn
close
over
the
to Public
endowment.
Works and close that down.
Okay, cool.
I really,
There may still be an endowment that continues with the foundation, but this is separate from that. This
Okay.
was some additional.
Gotcha.
great.
Okay, parks. Public Works will be taking over the mowing and snow removal at the library with hopes to reduce costs to the library. From seeing those bills come through, I think that's
Uh-huh.
a good idea. Willie Minor has been busy all summer, making sure the parks are mowed, tended to, and the trees are all watered. Anyone who's seen Willie out and about knows that to be true. The second version of the interconnection small generator applications have been submitted to Northwestern Energy for the solar projects at Public Works and the Recycling Center. The first version submitted were on last year's forms and were rejected, so we have
Got the
new ones in. DEQ, Department of Abandoned Mines, is working on the collapsed mine drain of the Sunset Mine. Currently, water is being bypassed into the stormwater system via pumps. Engineers are designing a new drain and extension of the stormwater main to pick up the new drain.
Okay,
Good update.
wow.
Busy, busy.
Sophie, do you need a copy of the parking?
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay.
Parks. Sustainability.
Parks and Sustainability Board, I'm gonna point to Alan for
Sounds like
Sustainability Board
Alan.
update.
Alan?
Sure thing. Have two things. Number one, the Sustainability Board presented, the 3 EV station-related requests to the Resort Tax Committee for their budget consideration. That totaled up to $9,000 for 3 high-visibility projects. Number one, replacing the 2 broken chargers and the 1 charger which is so ancient it should probably be in a museum to get those, their runtime up
Very
higher.
first one.
What's that?
It's like the very first one that they ever came
Yeah.
out with.
Yeah, it is ancient, and those were replaced last year. But anyway, the second thing would be stencil painting EV parking only on the parking spots because those tend to get blocked a lot, probably inadvertently by non-electric vehicles. And number 3, an anticipated solar carport grant match through Northwestern Energy. November 1 is the due date for that. I hear that the presentation was well received by those in attendance, so fingers crossed, keep that on our list for future things to think about. And the second issue that the Sustainability Board wants to present about is their continued support for requesting feasibility grant funds from the DEQ for a microgrid, and perhaps a future city council discussion and vote on applying for it, TBD. The DEQ is still deciding on how they will distribute their earmarked $1.5 million for microgrids and other creative grid supporting projects. And so far, Red Lodge is the only city expressing interest in that. So again, fingers crossed, and I hope to keep you guys updated on progress there.
And then on that, I'm sorry I didn't get to your email till today. But with that potential feasibility study, one thing I did ask Alan for was just some details of what that grant application looks like and requirements. So that way we could review that before giving the go-ahead and saying,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that would be a good approach.
Finding out what was required
Yeah.
before we even, yeah.
Yeah, see what's
Great.
required, and then also see, like, instead of applying for the microgrid grant, getting a feasibility study done and seeing if it's something that we can pull off.
Even if it's something else. Agreed.
Yep.
Okay.
And they're still kind of deciding exactly how they're going to do that. And so, but order of magnitude here, the feasibility study should cost less than $20,000 versus $1.5 million that they have in their budget. And conveniently, $1.5 million that would create and store approximately 100% of the electricity used by the wastewater treatment plant, which is costing the city $60,000 per year.
Cool. Okay, I'm excited about that.
Mm.
And then Parks, I unfortunately missed Parks by having the wrong day of the week this week. It's definitely.
I had the
been
wrong
that.
time tonight, so understand.
I was
Yeah.
Because I was like totally,
I'll be there by 5.
Jody messaged me and she's like, are you on the Parks board? Or like, are you on Parks? I'm like, yeah, I'm on Parks. I'm like, I'll see you tomorrow. She's like, oh no.
or right now.
That's right now. I'm like, yep, I'm not gonna make it. So, I do apologize. I don't have anything currently, but I can see what I have in my inbox. So I know that they are working with, the city.
Mhm.
So it looks like a resolution looks like they're reviewing a resolution from 2021. The city should have a folder on related to the involvement of Bee City, so trying to maintain that. It sounds like Courtney used to be the representative, and so they're trying to find a replacement representative for Bee City. And then, I also have Alan's minutes from sustainability board. Thank you, Alan. Just kind of cruising through this. Also looking at urban forestry management plan, so I'll bring a better update, next meeting for Parks Board. I do apologize. Oh, that's,
You want me to take over?
oh, no, it's fine. I guess I can do it too. It's fine.
Okay, thank you.
I just both in it.
All right, so next on the agenda, review of RLMC 6-1-4, reserve parking spaces and handicap parking.
Oh, I've got all sorts of comments.
All right.
I do know that I think this came about because this county building requested to put signs in front of their building. And, is that right, Mayor?
Yeah, and we also have one, there, and we have a member of the public who I anticipate will be here as well. Oh, look,
Hi, Lena.
perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
And so here is what we currently have on the books. I can make that a little bigger since that seems to be small. But basically, when we reached out initially, the information we had on our sign is it's there, but it's not really enforceable.
Mm-hmm.
The county had asked and basically, the feedback from the initial council members which are involved, which are not on this committee, had talked about that residents need to have access to their government services, and there was a special class that was available there. Interestingly enough, if you go out and look at what we have, what's on the books right now, it has to be approved by council, but as I read through this, no space shall be reserved on any street to the city except upon payment to the city of the fee of a rate of, and it's like, really? I'll pay that.
$2 for each linear foot?
Yeah.
And does it say, and that's annually, and so this is what's currently on the books.
No,
They set this in like
That's a deal.
813.
1945?
So it does say public buildings, spaces in front of adjacent to schools, churches, theater, hotels, and other public buildings to use at stated times by patrons, guests, or occupants of such premises for their convenience. But that to me probably addresses the city and the county building right there.
Correct. Where the back consecutive hours.
and they also wanted to have a sign.
Minimum of honor before the representation.
All places reserved under subsection A.
Oh, it's 19. Oh, no, it's 1990. Oh, no.
Will be at the expense of the applicant. Use of the space is reserved with the approval and under the direction of the chief of police. Such standards shall bear words, no parking, and must have printed or painted thereon in manner to be approved by the chief of police at the time during which the space has reserved. So,
So
There's
2 is
no
public
parking
building,
and-
is 3 is handicap, 1 is occupant of premise, space for occupant of any premise in front or rear of such premise be used at stated times by the occupant in the transaction of his or her business in loading or unloading commodities.
but you have to have a sign that says no parking specifically. Sorry, this seems pretty messy.
It was for a
Well, not-
time limit parking, wasn't it?
Yeah, 'cause they wanted to have it like
Yeah,
30-minute
30 minutes.
parking.
Is what,
Yeah.
is that what the county?
Ours out here says between 8 and 5
Mm-hmm.
on Monday through Friday. Theirs is a 30-minute, but that's because that's what they had that was previously up there.
Do they, remind me, do they currently have signs there that say,
30 minutes.
Where's their,
at the county?
At the
they have a sign
A
One.
that
sign.
is up. And it's just right in front for a single spot that just says 30-minute parking for,
Well, because the curb, there's a curb, and then there's like a
there's a
handicap.
handicap spot.
Yeah,
And then there's basically one spot.
yeah. Two if you do it smart. If you're trying hard enough.
Compact cars.
Right? Go around the side.
Well, so, yeah, parking has been a bit of a,
It-
so
it-
this is specifically for the county building, they would like to add what sign specifically?
So the county has one. So they put in a request and I approved that. I then I got a request from a business owner who said, that's pretty nifty. How come the county's special? How come I don't get one? Or what do I need to do so I can get one?
So it sounds like there is a process to get one,
Or,
as a private.
well, that's what we're reviewing, because right now, basically, it's not just anybody or I don't read it as anybody or everybody, but
Yeah.
it does talk about loading and unloading commodities. What if loading and unloading is your commodity?
Space in front of or adjacent to schools, churches, theaters, hotels, and other public buildings.
So I'm gonna go back to what staff has as their direction in guiding it, because I think it's kind of fits here.
Mm.
1, we're a service organization. 2, we get stuff done. 3, it has to be done in a way which is transparent, open, and consistently handled across the board, which means every decision we look at, we have to say, how does this impact and what comes next? So we did one at the county, and sure enough, we got a request that came in and said, hey, what's next? So let's suppose that business, we say, they're unloading or loading their commodities, and they come in and they pay their fees and they get their signs. Then I'm gonna have somebody else that says,
I mean, I could see that happening like
Oh.
Well,
wildfire.
every business would
Yeah.
want that.
And then it'll be only for up and down. Yeah,
so anyway,
can.
as the questions come up, I was like, ooh, we need to look at that and figure out what the intent is and what council wants to do.
The sign of the county could be regulated by time too, just like ours is. When they're closed, it's not 30-minute parking. You can park here.
Yeah.
And our recommendation was actually that they have a sign similar to ours. It hasn't been moved on yet. Part of it is as this opened up and as we started digging into this.
Okay. So,
I like our sign better because it's more, if this is city business between Monday 8 to 5.
So if you're
And we
conducting,
specifically work on staff, just like I'm sure every business in town does, and we tell our staff, don't park there.
No, that's not.
So that's, I park at the Pollard, so.
That's not
That's what
true.
goes in there.
People in, businesses in town don't tell their people not to park.
In front of
some
their
do,
spot.
not all.
Well,
probably.
Oh, I know lots
talked
of
about
them that
this
do,
at
but then
the-
it's all a battle if they park in front of each
yeah,
other.
do you
Yeah,
just talk
exactly.
We just talked
Yeah.
about this at the Red Lodge Business Alliance too, that, that is a thing that downtown businesses ask of their employees, right?
Yeah, oh yeah,
wasn't it if it?
a lot of places do, but again,
I don't think
is
they,
it necessarily
when they get-
monitored or restricted, like,
I think they do maybe initially, but like when you get these new hires, they don't,
I mean, I know specifically, like, the Tom Coons, or like Pizza Co. businesses, Red Lodge Hospitality, they're very strict on it.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that there's others that not so much. And again, I think it's just a matter of involvement and commitment. So,
right.
yeah,
And there's a lot of it, just say, leave that open for our customers.
Yeah.
And that, but like I said, what's funny is it ends up everybody's parked in front of some, so when I got the letter from Tom, he was asking about, we parked over on the other side, and he's graciously allowed us to park in his behind parking lot. And so he sent a nice letter saying, I don't let any of our employees park in front, we leave that open for business. And my response to him was, we do the same thing, that's, we tell everybody park at the Pollard, that's why I said that as a little bit of a jest, because it was that, I said, no, we don't park in front of City Hall, we park over by the Pollard.
Oh, yeah.
Well, a good answer to that would be, don't park in front of any other business in town.
No, that's what I'm saying, so so parking isn't really constrained, that's
Right.
individual businesses,
Mhm.
like you would tell all of your employees, don't park in the spot right in front of our store.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
or anywhere near.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Walk.
just walk.
We,
And-
we park over
Literally.
past
This one.
on
Yeah.
the edges by 8, just because we try to leave lots open for people that.
Well, especially your block, that gets tight.
so the question is, so if you look at what we have right now, it's like, we've got handicap, we've got public buildings, and we've got occupant of the premise, in front or rear to be used at stated times by the occupants in the transcends or business of their loading or unloading commodities. So if they wanted to come in and apply to this,
Mhm.
and they wanted to pay $2 for each linear foot, which is not applied to city, county, or United States buildings, okay? So they come in and they do $2 and they put a sign in, and must have an amount to be approved by the time at which the space is reserved. So if they said 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, but now we're back to, how do we keep every other business from
I don't think you do.
doing that?
Yeah.
I don't think you do.
So that's kind of my question. What does this look like where we can accommodate your,
Are you the business that applied? And Lynette, how do you spell your name?
Which one?
Your, sorry, not Junction Seven, but your name, is it Linna?
Why?
Lynna, and what's your last name?
Laurent, L-A capital R, O-Q-U-E.
Thank you.
just like it sounds?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just was
Do
like.
you want to say anything?
Well, I'm just here to kind of listen, but in what you're saying, if we ask for a sign, there used to be a 2-hour parking zone, and they took it down. And then from what I'm aware, from what we talked, there's a 4-hour parking on Broadway and everything to the alley on both sides.
Which does, by the way, take care of the employee parking to an extent as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
if it's enforced.
Exactly, and it's not enforced. The 4-hour hasn't been enforced unless I call.
Unless
and
you
say-
call. Well, and that's what it's saying with like Alana's place down in front of Back Alley Meadows, where there's strictly like signs.
Right.
It's
One of the problems you run into is parking spots on Main Street are like tables in a cafe. The more you turn them, the better the businesses do
Right.
downtown.
Right.
So keeping those parking spots moving for people doing business is great. Employees, business owners, when they take up 8 to 10 hours on the street, it becomes a problem. When you get them pushed off of Main Street,
And the spines that they're connected to it.
if you get the employees and off of Main Street, now they're encroaching into the residential area. So it's just a moving problem that I don't know how you fix, but we do need to have open turning spots on Main Street for a healthy business. So-
And in the particular case of this business, people show up and drop off signs,
Right. I
and,
think maybe you have to put in there that a reserve spot is essential for transaction of business for that.
For economy healthy.
and so that could be a modification of under 614.
Some kind
Yeah.
of short
There could be,
turnover
yeah.
is required.
So what would be the qualifiers? Like, again, if it is an essential aspect of your business, would it be impeding on public parking on Main Street? Like, I think that there would need to be some qualifying criteria for making that kind of decision besides just a fee of $2. But,
Well,
Here's
the
6
sign-
parking
If
spots.
only we knew who the legislative body was who gets
no, and
charged
again,
with
this
making
is,
such decisions.
so immediately my brain says we need to remove the fee from this and put it into a resolution.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that what we need to do is also have specific sign, I hate to say sign language, but language on the signs for what is allowed, so like, again, whether that's stated times between 8 and 5, 30
2
minute,
hours.
15 minute, like, and then how that
You write
would,
this down, Chris?
so having those specific types of signs that are allowed, handicap signs, having that on there.
Well, and I think it says handicapped is
Yep.
one of the,
So, but,
I'm just
so there's
basically
like a new,
thinking
there's a new category of 4, where basically, so interestingly, number 1 talks about in loading or unloading commodities, which I think of as, I don't know that number 1 really fits in there, because I'm not gonna shut it down for the truck who's there 2 times a week or something like that. That
right, well,
doesn't
I'm
make sense,
just,
but-
what do, how,
But, so how would you describe, so I can understand that 80-year-old ladies don't want to walk far with their packages, and that should be a 30-minute zone or something, but I'm trying to think, which other businesses say, well, I'm a restaurant, I require somebody to get in there quick too.
Well, Pollard is a good example, where they do actually have one of these signs out front. If I think of that correctly, they have a drop-off zone.
And they have a loading and an unloading in the back.
they have loading and
They have
unloading
loading,
back.
but that's on their private, that's not on the
Yeah.
street.
Well, that front street space, I'm pretty sure they
No,
have.
not in the front, they don't.
I don't think
It's in
so.
the back, because I almost hit a guy, because he thought the loading and unloading was actually right here, the side.
Gotcha.
Around the corner, he was like parked in the
But
middle.
I mean, a hotel's a good example. You're dropping off all your luggage
Right.
going in.
Okay, so a hotel could be another use case in addition to this.
Yep.
But so I think it's probably tweaking the language of number 1, not to be loading or unloading commodities, but the business by definition requires a,
And again, I
Drop-off
wouldn't
spot.
necessarily think you need, like, like, as a hotel, I don't think it requires, you'll be able to function without it.
Mhm.
It's a much different situation in someone that's delivering or taking packages.
Not really.
because they can go down the
Not really.
alley and stop.
They, yeah, they
ooh.
can, but then but here's what happens when you tell them that, they go and park in Lewis and Park, and she comes over, marches right over. Get out of my park,
They park in where? Oh,
in Lewis and Park.
Who's
And I don't
On
blame
the
her.
back.
Who's adjacent to, right next to you then? Because
Lucen Park.
is it Lucen Park? Before Lucen Park, I don't know, but I parked there once to drop off packages, and I came out and he had barricaded me and sat there and harassed me for like a good hour. Luckily, I finally told him who I was, and he didn't call.
Did you use the word, do you know who I am?
No, we started talking, and
Wow.
I knew his kids, and
Wow.
I talked him out of it. But yes,
So
they're,
those trucks, a lot
they're
of
not.
times they can stop on the street.
UPS uses the alley all the time, FedEx does the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, we've done that for years.
and to your point, they've survived for years without it, but it would certainly be nice if a little old lady could come by. Where it really became a problem is there was an employee, if the 4-hour had been enforced, it probably wouldn't have been an issue. And it actually was, because it was called in to dispatch. But it was an employee who came in and parked right there for the whole day,
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
for
that's
an employee
important.
sort of a thing. So it wasn't,
Yeah.
but even if it's somebody who comes in and honors the 4 hours,
A long time.
if you're 80 and shuffling with the package, it's a little bit further. So where is the way that we can accommodate, and is it something that warrants special accommodation?
This is, and you guys can completely shut me down on this, I'm just throwing ideas out. Would it make sense for each block to actually have a 30-minute parking only?
I was thinking the same thing. You know, for a business like yours, that makes total sense.
And if you had it on every block now, everyone gets that equal access to it
It's
essentially.
like the one parking spot that's 30 minutes only.
Yeah.
So, like, I need to run in and make a return at the
Yeah,
village
you
shop.
do
I
it
can-
only during like business hours, like 9 to 5, call it a 9 to 5. But now,
But
With every sign that
enforcement.
comes up, we don't have any parking officials in the city of Redmond.
yeah, we don't, good point. That's
We have
good
police,
point.
but they're not gonna drive by every
No,
half
we don't have
hour
parking
with a
days.
chalk line and say, okay,
No,
I'm
not-
timing it. Oh, you've been 20
No, but they
minutes.
will call if dispatch, if somebody calls dispatch and says there's a car parked out here for 2 hours in the 30-minute spot.
Right, but I
So
mean,
then
if you
go
guys
out
get
and
busy, are
you
you
start
able
the
to?
timing from that. from when dispatch
Right,
gets
'cause
there, then
that's
you
what I
start
was-
timing
yeah.
from there.
Yeah.
That's what I was told, they have to mark the tire and then come back 2 hours
Uh,
later.
Or, yeah,
Or
and,
15
but if it's a 30-minute, so would that
Even
30-minute spot be on the spines all the way down as opposed to on Broadway?
I think that'd be more attractive, and I think it'd be more functional. And especially if you made it like essentially, because we have, how many blocks have handicap spaces?
And I don't know what determines where we have handicap spaces.
Brian?
Yeah, there's one
So
on
there's,
Pride Park.
we have, I think we have
It's
three
one
or
every
four-
block or something?
No, it's not every block, but we gotta be careful with those too, because handicap spaces are pretty regulatory. We have one handicap space that almost makes a requirement, and that's the one by the museum. Handicap spaces have to be able to have enough place to pull off with access for van. I mean,
Ramps.
It's gotta be so far from a handicap, it's got full access to the sidewalk. They're tricky, and
We
I
have
would just
several,
say-
we have several non-official
Yes,
handicap
I would
parking,
say be
courtesy
careful.
handicap parking spots.
because if you create them and they're not right and something happens,
That's a liability.
that can be a liability on us. So I would just say,
Yeah,
The ones
so
that
if
are
we're gonna,
there
if we're gonna call it a
convenient-
handicap, it needs to, but I like the 30-minute idea. That's of having those periodically on,
And I think you could even do less than 30 minutes.
As you do.
Like, I think a 10-minute
Yeah.
drop-off,
Yeah.
because I think, again, specifically 80-year-old, my dad, great example. Like, he's not in the best of health, and you want to get him out of the car, and we need to drop him off close to the restaurants, and that'll actually help with traffic on Main Street.
Oh my God, the amount of traffic that just stopped in the middle of the street
Yeah.
for drop-off,
Yeah,
it's infuriating.
right. And so, I mean, you
Well,
know.
that, and like, I'm picking up pizza, or I'm picking up something, it gives the person, because I mean, there's times where I've parked at the post office to come.
now, here's
Yep,
the
grab a pizza.
counter and the unintended consequence, right? We always like to talk about that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
You just took away a parking spot on every block.
yes, but how
Yeah.
many of those parking spots were, I mean, are they 2+ hour parking?
people
And
shopping.
is it
People-
helping getting people in and out of businesses and generating revenue? 'Cause I mean, there's certainly days where I go to do something and like, I can't find a parking spot, I call it quits for the day.
But again, that 15-minute spot wouldn't help you. What it did do is just take away one more spot. So
Well-
over the course of Broadway, you take away what, 10 parking spots? That has an impact.
Do you know how many
That's
times
10 people who aren't wandering around for 4 hours
Good
shopping.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, in the same thing, it's also gives the people the option that, hey, here's the drop-off zone to drop people off, and then I'm gonna get up and move and go park further away, and then I'll come back to that parking spot.
Yeah,
To
so
pick
I
them
can go
up.
park at the Civic Center.
So what if we go to our things up here, and
Okay.
one of them is an additional, you can pay to have a 15-minute loading and unloading sign. So you pay for it, that keeps everybody from not everybody's gonna do that, because it doesn't benefit them to do a 15-minute. They want people in front of their stores and shopping. There's only a couple, hotels might be a use case.
But it would only be like a 15-minute loading, unloading between the hours,
Yep.
weekday.
Yeah, so if people wanna use that space after 5 o'clock to go get dinner, there's an extra space.
Restaurants.
I thought I got to go
for
pick up my
takeout,
pizza.
Yeah.
Right, for takeout.
I thought I got to use, go pick up my pizza. My pizza gets picked up after 5 o'clock.
But you can't do one at every restaurant.
No.
Yeah, but also downtown is generally slower after 5. Well, I'm not.
Oh, no.
Well,
Is 15 minutes enough?
This is gonna be the most.
I think 15
difficult.
minutes would be
Yeah.
good.
This one, I
There's
think,
no
yeah.
2 hour parking time.
Well, and so like you said, there are already the 2 hour
Well, the 2 hour was abandoned because it wasn't enforceable.
ones.
Well, I think it
where I'm
was,
worried
I think it
about
was,
the
and I think it actually says 4 hour. I could be wrong, but I think they changed it to 4 hour because 2 hours was cutting people off in their shopping trips.
Right.
Yeah.
Our signs say no parking on Main Street overnight, that's not enforced. When we used to do snow parties.
Oh, I've
I
had
don't
it
go to
enforced
the-
on me for
I'd have
sure.
people-
I don't park in front of the
Oh,
Pollard
Ronnie.
after 5 AM because of that.
But a lot of times, there's many cars parked.
Oh, yeah,
there.
agreed.
The parking's not enforced. Every sign you put up, unless you can get someone to actually enforce it, you're creating a recommendation
Well, I
Not
mean,
Well, and just
And that's-
because something's not 100% enforceable doesn't mean there's not a benefit to having it there either. You still you don't catch every speeder, you don't catch every murderer, but that doesn't mean, oh, let's not have it on the books. You still get a benefit from doing that. We didn't eliminate everybody from doing fireworks, which is
Is
still a value in having it on the books.
Is this something that should be taken to the Business Alliance
I'm gonna be in
Yeah.
for tomorrow, but
And
I think
ask
it'd be
them.
interesting to get their input.
to get their input on a 15-minute spot?
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I think if you spread them out, you
Sporadically.
did it
I was
on the
thinking-
right-hand side
Yeah.
corner,
I was thinking that.
on
Yeah.
that end of the block, and one on this side, at this end of the block, and that covers
Yeah,
2
that's,
blocks.
that's what I was.
And so you end up with maybe 4 on Main Street.
4 on each side.
No,
No.
There's 4 blocks long there.
yeah, you're only,
Doing every other,
you're doing every other, and you're
and then
considering that
opposite on the other
15-minute
side.
spot covers 2 blocks.
So,
Okay.
That or we do have it applied for, and it's a 15-minute
If
spot.
you put it in a corner.
I like
Alan's
the,
got something to say.
Maybe June, July, August only. I mean, I don't know how busy parking is in November, but probably not as bad as it is during.
It's still
It's
pretty
still
bad.
It can be bad all year.
It can
Yeah.
be, for sure.
It's gone.
It's done,
Yeah.
there's no,
Well,
there,
part of it is, once the visitors slow down, the employees migrate back.
That's
to
true.
Main Street.
Yeah.
because it's too cold to walk.
Nobody wants to walk the block
Slippery,
when
man.
it's cold.
Too cold.
Definitely have an hour restraint on it, like from 9 AM to
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 PM, 15 minutes, because when
Between the
everybody,
hours.
when the normal banker hour is done, the restaurants, everything's still open, maybe maybe the 15-minute isn't needed for nighttime.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
think
trying
it's
to think,
as
there was,
needed. I
when
don't
we
think
were in
it's
Telluride, they
necessary.
had those signs, because we'd pull into a parking spot and look up, and there'd be a sign that says, during these hours, it's 15-minute parking, you're like, oh, next.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense, because again, street is a little bit slower, so we are in that old person, like, situation. It's less of an intrusion to have someone parked in the middle of Main Street to let out grandma. It's gonna happen regardless.
Oh, it's not curious.
Yeah.
It's not just grandma, like, they stop.
Oh,
And they
yeah.
have a conversation with, it's like a kid's drop-off, like, so passionate about that, but yeah. I don't know, I think it is something that needs to be brought up at the business,
Yeah.
with the business, I don't know, none of us here, or you're in the business one, right?
Yeah, Chelsea,
Yeah,
I
You have
go.
both,
I
yeah,
just missed
I
it.
didn't, yeah, I couldn't go, I had to work Monday, so.
Yeah,
and see, but I can see the benefits for having that option.
Yeah, I can see the benefits of having it. I don't want it to be a free-for-all. It's either, it's something that's just provided by the city in a, like, as a show of good faith.
Right. I mean, there's
Um,
many times I run down Main Street and I know exactly what I need at Sylvan Peak.
Yeah.
Run in, grab it, and go.
Red Lodge Drug,
Yeah.
another good example.
The drugstore, yeah. I mean, I drove around the parking lot the other day, drove up and down Main Street probably 3 or 4 times, because there was no parking even on the side, on the back side street
Yeah.
either, so.
Yeah, I need to get my bike out of storage.
But even with the bike, I couldn't carry all the
This would
stuff.
be kind of a fun one.
This is gonna be.
I like
fun.
this one. I like
This
it.
is gonna be,
That's why I said, let's see what the businesses say, if,
Yeah.
and
And then we should also ask public health, or health and safety
health and
too.
safety.
Because see how the
They're the
police
ones
feel about it.
enforcing.
Right. Are they gonna be
Pull
super
out the
upset?
checklist, what's the biggest argument for, what's the biggest argument against, what happens if we don't do anything, what happens if
did we cover this 8 years ago?
What problem
when
are we trying to
did this
solve?
whole parking thing?
Did we?
well, we had an angled parking thing that was
Oh,
similar.
God, I remember that conversation.
That's not a thing, right? Because,
Hagen?
and Platt,
Oh, man.
okay,
Yeah,
cool.
no, they've just like gone for it.
They
Like,
went
this is how
straight
we do
road.
this now. We don't
Straight
even
road.
care. And it's blocks on blocks of people parking diagonally. Which I don't necessarily mind, like personally, as long as they're not covering the sidewalk.
If they're staying out of the right of ways,
They did.
That's the problem.
Well,
There's a
that,
lot of them parking over the sidewalk.
and then we don't give people, if they just pull over and park the wrong direction on that just
And
happens.
is Platt going to have curbs when this whole project's done?
When it is done, so parts of it will, a year from now.
Which would keep people off the sidewalk, but
Yeah.
angle parking,
or you just don't have the infrastructure.
on one side of the street might help with the problem of employees parking and taking up the significant amount of the residential. Unless you have overflow for special events.
We have one potential test site where that's kind of coming up down by the high school, that it may be, just on one side of the street.
I don't think you have the width to do both sides, but one
Well, the
side-
problem is they are doing it on both sides.
Yeah.
And actually, I think they go one side and they go parallel, and it's still constrictive for fire trucks, ambulances,
Yeah.
trash trucks, et cetera. So, Public Works and law enforcement are looking at that right now, so.
When we did that last study, I don't think there was one street in Red Light that
Yeah, we
qualified for the dimensions to have angle parking.
She made a motion in a second.
The problem is,
Keep it on.
there's a lot of, 24-foot pickups that,
Yeah.
So,
They
and that's
block
the
the
other thing
roadway.
that I noticed when we were in touring all the mountain towns in Colorado. They were designated parking spots, like lines, to tell
Yeah.
people, this is where you are parking.
That's-
If your vehicle is, got an extra long truck or a trailer, park Civic Center, it's right down the road.
Yeah.
Like, they were
Yep.
really strict about what kind, and
So now you're back to A, you have to have pavement to paint, and B.
I was just thinking Main Street.
Main
like,
Street,
specifically
Broadway.
Main Street.
Yeah, I can't tell you, I mean, I
The
swear.
That I saw parked down there the other day, I was like,
More so,
or the
just
RV.
the lack of, like, spatial recognition of how much space you're giving, and really, like, people are just like, oh, I wanna make sure I have plenty of room to just pull out, and they have like 10 feet in front of
Right.
them.
The thing with that though, then you have to compact cars.
Yep.
They can- And there's a lot of cars that can pack on Main Street with those cars.
Yeah,
Well, and then
When
the
you
bike,
start putting spaces in, then you're taking away spots.
that's true.
it's a worm.
I drive.
Although I love the
There's a
idea
spot
because people
available.
don't know how to park.
Yeah,
And one of the
My daughter.
conversations that scared the dickens out of me when we were having the Eagle parking conversation, apparently the new thing is backwards angle parking. I can't tell you the number of people I don't wanna see try that, or I'm not gonna park next to.
there was a previous mayor that was bouncing that idea around.
I will
Yeah.
tell you, they do not teach back in parking in driver's ed.
No. Good news
Well,
is
backup
these-
cams is so easy now.
Well, and the
See
camp, well,
lines.
the cars do it themselves.
Yeah, and self-parking stuff.
My daughter had absolutely no idea when I said, just back in. What?
I've watched one of those cars try to park on Main Street one day. We were sitting in front of Bridge Creek.
Yeah.
We turned that on, we laughed our asses off.
Entertaining.
Well, I think we have some good momentum on this.
Absolutely.
So again, taking it to police, taking it to the businesses, and then moving forward from there. Again, I think that there's ways that we could either do this, regardless, this does have to get cleaned up.
Yeah, the $2, that's,
Yeah,
Is there a way that if you do something like this, that it can be a city decision and not a business?
well, and that's why I think if
Not,
we,
not selective to, well, this business requested, so we did it, so we're gonna do one here. If it was a city decision, then we chose to do this for the convenience of the
Right.
businesses. Therefore, we're not taking any more requests for 15 minutes.
If you
Yeah.
did it, the one per block thing, I think that's a city decision.
yeah.
If you talk about this being a city decision in an application, I'm gonna put on my Peter Italiano hat and say, no, you have to put staff in the position of applying it, not making a decision, you get it, you don't. And that's where the big kerfuffle was on,
Yeah.
angle parking.
Yeah.
Business X had it, Business Y didn't have it, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, any other, oh,
Just the one thing about right now, there is 4-hour parking.
Right.
On the, what do you call these streets?
I call them the spines, but the
Spines.
offshoots, the,
Okay.
side street.
Side
So
streets.
on the
Side
spine, there's currently 4-hour parking.
to the,
Yeah, to the alley, so, but there isn't anybody to.
monitor that.
that we don't have a parking meter made.
Right.
It
So-
used to be the police would go around and ticket people.
Well, I don't, I, yes, you ticket, and I don't want them ticket, I just want people to move.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, do we even have signs up anymore? No parking here to, or 4-hour parking? I
We
think
do
that
on,
There's a couple of spots in town where there's still,
we have
like,
parking signs on Main Street, but nothing on the,
the side.
Sign.
Oh,
So
no, okay.
it's really hard.
so it makes it hard to enforce.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's hard to enforce anyways, because like you said, they have to go around and shop the car, make sure they, and then come back 4 hours later. And that, they're busy, like,
And there was
I
a
get
big
it.
push too, that we don't wanna overload our streets with signs either. We don't want a
right.
sign every 20 feet saying, here you gotta do this, here you gotta do this. It's like,
Yeah.
let's try to keep it as open as possible.
yeah.
But that might come up too, that do we want all this
many
signage?
Well, it doesn't work when it's on the ground.
Asking, gathering more information about how many employees are actually downtown. Would there be a way to gather that information? You know, how many employees
Where do you?
are looking for parking, you know, downtown? So how many employees does your business have? And how many spots you provide? Like at Moosley, we have 2 spots behind that business.
Behind the business.
Now you're treading on my This Is America, not a homeowners association.
Well, and
Well, I'm just saying, it just gives you information, we're just gathering
See
information.
how many,
Scott last year went around to all the businesses on Broadway and told the businesses that there is 4-hour parking on those side streets, and that if their employees are using that for parking, they needed to move their vehicle every 4 hours, because they just didn't know anymore.
Right.
And people started adhering to that, at least on mine, especially like the Department of Revenue people that were down in the basement, you know, in the building right there.
Mhm.
Because they would take up, every day, they take up all the parking on the
Mhm.
side street there with their
Half a block
employees.
away, it's empty.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of an educational thing
Well,
for the businesses
The
to
city
know
needs to help identify
yeah.
good places for employees to park, help identify what those areas are. We kind of know what they are. You know, there's a lot around Ace and on those side streets there, because it's not residential.
Right.
There's some areas that they could be directed to. In the wintertime, it's tougher because it's cold and snowy and can't get
Yeah,
anywhere to get
and-
off of Main Street, but
When we had the signs up, it did help, because then people just knew if you were working downtown, you had to move your vehicle at lunch. You couldn't just leave it parked there
And I
all
think-
day long.
wasn't there a little bit of pushback from some of the bartenders?
I don't know. There was pushback from a lot of people, because like, well, where am I gonna park? I'm like, well, I don't care, just not here. You know, it's basically what it boils down to.
and that's the problem, is the employer says, don't park here.
Yeah.
And then they send them wherever, just don't park here.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah.
try to keep spaces on the street around the grocery store on Oaks open for trucks and campers, but we gave up on that because as the business developed on that end of the street, all the employees from Main Street parked next to the grocery store.
Yep.
Or in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So
Because
they're
it's all
trying to
public
somebody's
parking.
Mhm.
I mean, everything is public parking.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, okay, that's game.
Okay.
Good talk, adjourned.
Adjourned?